Good afternoon, everyone. It's so exciting to see so many smiling faces out there. We have been working on this conference since last September. There are a lot of people that you know who have been very involved in this. And what I'd like to do to get us started is to give the recognition where the recognition is due to the people who've been most involved in planning this event. We have a conference committee. Everybody has a name tag, and you'll see that some people have a yellow sticky dot on their name tag. Those are the people that were on the conference committee. So as you see them today and tomorrow, please take a minute to thank them for all of their hard work. And if they're in the room now, I'd like to have them stand up. That would be Shannon Rubio. She's out doing conference stuff. Joan Pratt. There's Joan. Alan Hyman. Is Alan in the room? Megan Hassan. Is Megan in the room? Rebecca Rigello, there she is. Sherry Mason. I knew I saw Sherry a minute ago. Okay. And Amy Church, and I know that she's out there. Amy is the Volunteer Resource Coordinator for the Citizen Review Board. So many of you may have talked with her over the course of the year. She's usually the person that answers the phone when you call about an e-packet issue, and she talks you through those. Amy has been pulling double duty over about the past 6 months because my management assistant moved on to work for the Supreme Court, and Amy's been kind of keeping me together and doing her job. So when you see her, please be sure to give Amy a special thanks because she really has done a lot to make this conference a success. Everybody who has a blue name tag, those are our staff. And if I could have any staff in the room stand up for a minute. Staff, stand up. Okay, I think our staff need a big round of applause. You'll see there are 16 breakout sessions this year, and it's because of the hard work of all of the staff that those sessions are happening. They're the ones who contacted and worked with presenters. Some of the presenters that we have in our breakout sessions are nationally recognized people. They've worked with them on the goals and objectives for the session and making sure that they were getting their materials in and all of that. So our staff do a lot of work on making this conference a success, and please thank them for the opportunity that you have to be here as well. People with a blue dot are the members of the CRB Advisory Committee. If you have a blue dot, can you stand up, please? You know who you are. Our advisory committee meets every month by phone for 2 hours. I think it's the second Friday morning of the month. And they get together in person once or twice a year. And we have representatives from across the state. If anybody is interested in participating on that and being a part of our advisory committee, we would love to have you. Some of you have seen the baskets out there. They're kind of hard to miss this year. Thank you so much for pulling together and bringing those baskets in. I know you've done a lot of work with your boards to come up with themes, and the baskets look absolutely wonderful. Last year, we raised enough money to send 5 kids to Camp To Belong, $2,500. Thanks to all of you who contributed last year, and thanks to you who brought baskets, and I hope you're buying tickets this year so that we can send additional kids to camp. Karen, who is the camp director for Camp Tubalong, will be here this evening to show the video. There's a 20-minute professionally made documentary that was filmed at Camp Tubalong, so you'll actually get to see some of the kids that are involved and participating in the camp. And that will be after dinner. It's kind of a later night get-together for those of you who want to do that. We'll watch the video and have popcorn and maybe sing a camp song or two. So we hope you'll join us for that. Tickets for the raffles are $1 each or 6 tickets for $5. And the tickets are double. You keep one side and put the other side in the basket. The blue tickets are the $1 tickets. The orange tickets are the $5 tickets. Okay? There's one item out there that is a weekend at the beach with wine and wine glasses and a beautiful little basket and a weekend at a beach house. So those are $5 each. That's where the orange tickets go. As I was moseying along, I noticed that there were a couple of orange tickets in other baskets. So if you did that by accident, you might want to take your orange ticket and put it in the big basket. You can leave it where you put it, but you might want to put it in the big basket. I have the pleasure today of introducing Judge McKnight. Judge McKnight is the Chief Family Law Judge here in Multnomah County. She has been a real leader in improving how the courts handle and respond to issues of domestic violence. Not only the courts, but how the community handles and responds to those issues. She's been a leader and an advocate in the DV area for many, many years. She has also been very instrumental in helping to open the courthouse doors to people who don't have the resources to hire an attorney. Many times there are parents involved in domestic relations issues that need assistance. They don't have an attorney, and she's helped to get facilitation programs within the counties across the state, some of which have taken some recent budget reductions, but that's an area of passion for her to make sure that people have the legal representation that they need in all family law cases and child support, child abuse and neglect issues. So with that, Judge McKnight.
So it's a beautiful day outside and you're in here. Kudos to you. I want to begin by and I'm only going to speak very briefly. I have just a limited role, but I wish I could stay for the entire conference. I am going to come back for the dinner tonight, but I am in trial all day on a termination of parental rights case. But I did have a chance to review the schedule with Leola ahead of time. Wow, oh, what's being videotaped? Now, is that being videotaped? Is this being videotaped? So she assures me that I'll have an opportunity to see some of the things that I'm going to miss. I am very pleased and honored to be here today to welcome you and to acknowledge on behalf of my colleagues, not just in Multnomah County where I sit. We have 14 judicial officers in Multnomah County who do family and juvenile issues, but across the state, welcome you and acknowledge your service to children and families, particularly exclusively those involved in the Oregon foster care system. In talking to Leola and the others, I learned that there's about 200 people that are going to be in attendance this weekend, and I know most of you are board members or staff members, but I know we also have some CASAs here and other stakeholders registered, so I think that's reflective of the importance of the work that we're doing, the breadth of individuals who come. I know that it's a commitment, particularly on a really nice day, but a commitment that you've made in your lives to do this type of work. I just want you to know that those of us on the bench and caseworkers in court, it's very much appreciated. I can tell that looking at the brochure that you're going to be looking at some of the same topics that judicial officers get training in regularly. In fact, I recognize some of the sessions that, oh, we're going to have this person come, or we just had this person. And you're going to be looking at things like decision making and questioning, ways to really help you elicit information, and to do that in a non-traumatizing, non-judgmental way. A lot of issues that really have to do with core neglect and abuse cases, bonding, attachment, domestic violence, trauma, fetal alcohol syndrome, other substance abuse issues. And of course, we have the really techie legal stuff. I'm going to be hearing about the Indian Child Welfare Act, about where the appellate courts are going in some of their decisions about foster care cases and how they're deciding permanency issues. You'll hear there's been sort of a tightening down, in a way, of how the appellate courts are looking at some of these issues. And what I was particularly pleased to see, being on the Judicial Education Committee for the courts, that your planners have paid a lot of attention to interactive modalities of teaching, and you'll have a number of scenarios where you'll actually get to practice what you're learning here. I want to stress that we know that what you bring to the court and to these families is your experience and your judgment. And we're hoping that the conference gives you some added resources and tools to continue your work. What you do in reviewing how the court is performing its role, how Child Protective Services, how DHS is performing its role, is one of the most important things that we do as a state, is protecting vulnerable people. And for more than 25 years, the CRB and the courts have really been in a very close partnership. It's a checks and balance system to make sure that children in care receive the support and services that they need. I think you may have heard, oh, you're the eyes and ears of the court. That's true. You're on the ground acting for us in terms of soliciting, observing, synthesizing what you get. But more importantly, I think you're the voice of the community in this dynamic, because what you're able to do is to let us understand the perspective of those with a broad viewpoint, who have broader life experiences than someone who's sitting in court every day looking this, how these families are being helped and what other kinds of help that they need. Leola shared with me, is Ellen Hyman in the room? Where are you, Ellen? Okay, there you are. Okay. She shared with me the article that you submitted for, is it the Register Guard? I can't remember. I went to school in Eugene. I'm digging it out. I think it's the Register Guard. And I just wanted to close my remarks with the last two paragraphs of the op-ed piece that Ellen wrote. I think it's, they really capture from a volunteer's perspective what I'm thinking does and should motivate many of you as well. So these are Ellen's words. I'm not going to paint a rosy picture. The issues that bring kids into foster care can be heartbreaking, but the outcomes can be equally rewarding. Many children are able to return home to their parents who have successfully addressed the issues that brought their kids into care and learn to put the needs of their children first. Other parents make the difficult decision, or have it made for them by the court, to relinquish their parental rights so their children can be adopted. Other kids in foster care will age out. Being a board member is not easy, and it's not for everyone. But if you care about children, especially those involved in the child welfare system, this is an opportunity to consider. The program needs more people willing to give of their time to make an invaluable contribution. Every day counts in the life of a child in foster care. And I know that every day counts is the theme, and we owe that, I think, those words to Ellen. So I wish you a very happy conference. I will be back for dinner, and hopefully I'll get some feedback on how exciting and what you've learned in the meantime. But thank you for letting me address you just briefly this afternoon.
McKnight, thank you so much for being here. I know you have to run back to the bench, so have a good afternoon, and we'll see you this evening. When we start the conferences, it usually starts with a lot of people talking at you. And this year I wanted to really get tables talking together with each other for a few minutes so that you can start thinking about the jobs that you do and the important work that you do and how it will relate to the sessions that are coming up this afternoon and tomorrow. I would like to start that conversation by explaining to you what's been happening in Oregon with the CRB over the past 9 months. If I can figure out how to do this the correct way, I'll be happy. Ta-da. We, DHS and the CRB, updated our Memorandum of Understanding this past September. The purpose for that update was to give CRB the responsibility in the state of Oregon for meeting the federal requirements under the Child Abuse Prevention and Treatment Act that requires states that receive federal funds through CAPTA to have 3 citizen review panels. The citizen review panels, when the CAPTA language passed that required citizen review panels, they were implemented in states in a number of ways. In some states, they assigned that responsibility to their foster care review board. In some states, they set up a whole new process for the citizen review panels outside of the foster care review board. Oregon was one of the states that set up a whole new process. This year, we've been given that responsibility, and I think that that is really a demonstration from the agency of the trust and the confidence that they have in the CRB. The work that we're doing under CAPA brings about $850,000 a year into the state. And if this work isn't done, then those are potential grants that would be in jeopardy. Grants that fund local child abuse and prevention and treatment efforts, educational efforts for the various stakeholders within the community, grants that actually go out and work with local community resources and provide funding for local community resources. Citizen review panels under the federal legislation are required to do 3 things. They're required to evaluate how well the agency, the Department of Human Services here in Oregon, is discharging their child protection responsibilities. The panels are required to examine the policies and procedures and practices of the state agency. And that's something that we do during the case reviews on a regular basis at the case level. So this brings that work that we're doing at the case level and helps us to focus on that at a larger perspective at a system level within your counties. The panels are also required under federal legislation to have public forums, opportunities to invite the public to come and hear the concerns and issues from the panels and get their feedback on issues and concerns within the child welfare system in the local community. The panel is also required to submit an annual report that's due at the end of May each year to the Department of Human Services. Now, unlike other reports, the federal law actually says that the agency needs to submit the panel reports with their annual progress reports to the feds, and they need to include in that their response to the panels of whether and how they're going to implement the recommendations of the panels. So there's really a responsibility within the agency and funds tied to it that they must respond in writing. So this isn't just a report that's going to sit on somebody's shelf. They need to think about it and figure out how they're going to implement the recommendations, or if they've already implemented them, or if it's impossible But they need to think about it and prepare written responses back to us. The 3 panels that we used in Oregon for this, we used the 2 CRB boards in Lincoln County. Any Lincoln County volunteers here? Okay. We used the 2 boards in Deschutes County. Deschutes volunteers here? Okay. And we used 1 or 2 members from each of the 9 boards in Lane County. Lane County volunteers here. Okay. Those teams of people became the Citizen Review Board panel within that county. The panels, in addition to doing the monthly reviews of cases, they met regularly with each other to discuss issues. They worked together to develop a systems issue survey that they then completed for every review that they did from November till today. The panels also met with community stakeholders and got their feedback on issues and concerns within the local community and possible recommendations. And they also did the public forums that I told you about. One of the really interesting things that happened with the panels that I thought this was a really good opportunity for us that we haven't had in the past is in both Lane County and Lincoln County, the panels invited a bunch of caseworkers to lunch. They bought a bunch of pizzas, put them in the front of the table, and it was really an opportunity for the board members to ask some general questions and sit back and listen to the discussion. And I think that those discussions that happened during those meetings really helped to broaden the understanding of the board members about what's currently happening within the child welfare system and really help the caseworkers understand the concerns and perceptions that the board members may have and help to clarify some of those things. They were, in my perspective, very positive meetings in both counties. The panel members decided that we were going to use the same systems issue survey across the state. So we asked all of the field staff to fill out the same form with their boards for the months of January, February, and March. We wanted to do that because we wanted to see if some of the issues that we were seeing at the local level were also statewide issues. And surprise, surprise, they were. The 3 big statewide issues are caseworker turnover, insufficient supervision, and lack of training. The case plans don't include current and sufficient information and lack of compliance with face-to-face contact. If you go online, you'll see the meeting materials for this conference, and each of these slides has notes attached to it, and you'll see the proposed recommendations that are being considered at this point forward. I didn't want to show them to you today because I want you to talk about these things and come up with a recommendation on your own, but they're there if you want to see what has been talked about so far. Deschutes County, these are the issues that they came up with. Lack of timely ICWA determinations, insufficient medical and dental information, a lot of problems with diligent efforts to search for relatives, and insufficient documentation and or implementation of the concurrent plan. Lane County's top 4 issues, in addition to the statewide issues, were the medical and dental services, the lack of information about psychotropic medication, ILP services, and visitation, lack of visitation services. And Lincoln County, the 3 of the same issues, the medical and dental services, the lack of information about psychotropic meds, and the diligent efforts issues to search for relatives. That's where we're at right now. We did the public forums, we collected some additional data These are the key issues that have been seen in the individual counties. They've met and talked about some specific recommendations that they would like to make, and we're putting together a report. Before we did that, we wanted to give all of our volunteers, everybody in the room today, the opportunity to comment on the 3 statewide issues. And we're doing great on time. I'm going to give you 15 minutes. There's a pink paper in the middle of your table. What I would like you to do is, this is your opportunity to talk with each other. There's only one, okay? There's only one per table. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Write down the names, the counties represented at your table. Come to consensus on what you think the key issue is, and write a statement and a recommendation. 15 minutes.